Up next on Inside ChampCar, a Sebring Masterclass. And welcome to this edition of Inside ChampCar. I'm Brian Bielanski. The guy up above is Bill Strong, and the guy over there is David Twatty. How you doing, David? Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me again. It's a pleasure always to be here and talk about racing.
Yeah. And we were just talking about racing, and then we just realized it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I know. Got to press the buttons. Time to go.
We're done.
All right. See y'all next week.
Hey, great to have you on the show. I see you've got your favorite Champ car behind you.
That's right. I want to take that out and put it in the C class so I can have a whole bunch of people whine and complain.
Oh my God, the internet would go nuts. Yeah. I mean, you started out with. We kind of know your history. You started out in college. You were in college, right, when you started racing?
Yeah, when I was in college, I decided to actually follow a buddy of mine who had just bought like an old IMSA Firehawk car, Honda CRX, and I decided to follow him to an autocross because he was actually carrying the car in one of those like two-wheeled dollies.
Ollie,
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was not trusting it, so he's like, "Follow me." And here I am following it. Like, what happens if the car falls? I'm gonna catch it in my Celica. So we get to the event. We were in. I went to school at USF in Tampa, and we went to the event in Orlando. We got there, and he went to register. The lady looked at me and says, "What about you?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not a race car driver." She goes, "Nobody here is a race car driver. Pay $20 and you can race." I'm like, "Really? In my Toyota Celica?" He goes, "Yep." And that was it. That was the end of it all.
Yeah.
I entered the first race. Yep.
Yeah.
I was so afraid to tell my dad.
Oh yeah, because you were still in college too, right?
I was in college, and my dad raced cars in South America, Peru, for Team Toyota. So he knew what was going on. But he had given me a emergency-only credit card. And I told him, I go, "Listen, I entered this autocross. There's no danger. It's all around the cones." He looks. He tells me. He goes, "David, that credit card I gave you for emergencies." I go, "Dad, I'm not using it." He goes, No. Go buy tires. Do whatever you need."
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, my first autocross was at a brand spanking new Toyota Corolla GTS.
There you go.
Those were, at the time, everybody just was kind of surprised I brought it out because everybody else was running older cars, like 1960s convertibles and MGs and little Golfs and stuff like, not Golfs, what are they called? Little rabbits.
Yep.
Just little things. And I thought, well, I'm gonna win this thing, man. This is gonna be fun. And a buddy of mine, the guy that actually brought me out, he had a bunch of he worked the Chrysler Proving Ground, and he brought out a GLH or GLHS pre-production Shelby Charger or Shelby Omni, and tore the field up, but I did not.
That was the car that I used for my first SCCA school. What's that? Toyota Corolla GTS.
How did you do yeah, I saw pictures of that actually.
Yep.
How did you do your first autocross?
First, I won the novice class.
Oh, gee.
Yes, I did. I won the novice class. I mean, it's novice.
Yeah.
But I won the novice class, and my first instructor ever that day was Mark Dana and Randy Post.
Oh,
wow.
Yep. So I've known Randy since 1992, and he has always been the most awesome guy. And of course, back then he was already a national champion. And he would go to autocrosses and, whatever E36 BMW he had and run and kill everybody every time.
Yeah.
It was really like a master class in autocrossing. So that's who I grew up idolizing and racing with, and my first coach ever. I mean, you can't go downhill from there, right? It's all downhill from there.
Exactly. Yeah, my first autocross school was in Milwaukee, and my instructor was a guy back then. He was known as PD Cunningham. Now he's Peter Cunningham. He's all fancy and all. But yeah, it's when you get to look up to those folks, it gives you something to strive for, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. It was just a pleasure to see how they handled the car, and they were so smooth and fast, and it took a while to get there, but it was eye opening and also a big goal
Yeah.
right away.
Yep. So
you started racing with a 4AG powered Toyota Corolla.
Mhm.
How come we don't see too many of those anymore? I can
Well,
tell
they're classics now.
Today,
Oops, sorry.
Those are classics. So I did my first two schools with GTS, a Corolla GTS, but those were just really just kind of track cars.
Right.
So I had my Henry Bradley, a Peruvian racing team, build me a Volkswagen Rabbit that then BSI Racing would campaign, Stu Broomer, back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And that was my start racing, was the Rabbits and then the Golfs. And I did that from 1994 through 1999. And that's when my wallet won over and I entered my first IMSA race. Back then was a Grand Am Cup
Right.
in a Porsche Boxster. That was unbelievable. What an eye-opening experience. I learned how to be a race car driver that day at Daytona.
It's funny because Stu and BSI back in the day, and Tom Fowler in OPM, they were kind of like the official, the original prep shop guys in the Southeast.
Yes.
I was in Atlanta at that time and got to know Tom and his operation there. And if you wanted to try to be fast, if you could measure yourself against anything that Stu or Tom made, and if you could keep up with those cars, you were doing okay.
Yep, we did. Stu built me one of those rockets, and in the Florida, Central Florida and Florida region, we were the cars to beat.
Oh yeah,
it was basically like 3 or 4 BSI cars against everybody else, and I was one of them. My partner now, David Leda, the L in TLM, he had the other one, and we wanted to kill each other every lap. It was awesome, and it hasn't stopped. We've been partners now for almost 20 years with TLM, and we've known each other over 30, I guess.
Yeah.
Racing other stuff, and it just so happens we had a huge accident my last year in SCCA in 1999 or 98, I think it was. We were at Moroso, and we both just had to have that plaque, that 50-cent piece of wood. We call it a cheese cutter. We had to have it, and we almost killed each other. I mean, we went into the last lap. It was a nasty race. He was hitting me from behind. I was hitting him from behind. It was definitely not kosher at all.
Yeah.
We go into turn 5 at Moroso, and I go to the inside to, he felt like a hole this big, and it was maybe this big. I stuffed it in there. We both touched. We went backwards into the wall. He flipped over the wall, destroyed both cars. He broke his leg. And we have a picture of us hugging that Yuha. I don't know if you remember Yuha, the photographer, took. Yeah. We have a picture hugging. And fast forward 10 years later, we became business partners, and we've been friends ever since. We were never not friends.
Oh, he's waiting. He's waiting.
Well, it just so happened at the last WRL race at Sebring, I'm driving my customer's Aston Martin, and he's driving our ChampCar, the Marlboro ChampCar. And we go into the Bishops, and he lets 3 cars go by on the inside. I'm the 4th one. He closes the door on me, and we had a massive shunt. I'm like, oh my God, David, I almost killed you 20 years later.
So, Moroso late 90s, did you ever do the New Year's Day or New Year's Eve?
No, I was there. I never entered a car for the longest night, they called it.
Yep.
The 24, yeah. No, I never entered a car. I was there with BSI hanging out and the guys, but I never entered a car. No, but that's where I grew up. That's where I did my second driver's school and spent most of my time was Moroso.
Yeah.
That was the mid-90s, wasn't it? Or late 90s?
Yep, mid to late 90s.
From 94 to 98.
Yeah, because I was out there in 95, 97, and I remember that my buddy would go up to it the first year. I was supposed to go. He came back, told me all about it. I was supposed to go with him the following year. We just couldn't get around. I had a bike race I had to do. So, but yeah, that would have been fun.
Yeah, it was
And
the first endurance race I ever participated in. I was a crew chief on a Golf GTI.
Okay.
And I remember we oiled down the clutch, and at every stop we were dumping cans of brake clean into the transmission to try to keep the clutch from slipping to get us to the end. And then with like 7 hours left, we spun the wheel nuts on one of the on the front right wheel, I believe. So we had to go front right wheel for the last 7 hours on the same tire. And
Oh,
yeah, it was very, very sketchy the last couple of hours.
but
So
David, did you participate in the Lemons 24-hour at Moroso?
no, no. The only cool endurance races I've done at PBIR was ChampCar races with
Yeah.
the American car.
Yeah, we ran the PBIR. We ran the Lemons race there. That was the last time I had an AFib, and the last time I drank alcohol, and the last time I ever got sick in a car, or almost got sick in a car, because we had some broken motor mounts. And on the back straight, you had some undulations there, and with that
Mhm.
motor mount, it would make the car do this wobbly thing, and it just got you sick, seasick after a while. That was so bad. That just was not a good weekend for us, but it was kind of fun. But all right, so we are getting ready to go to Sebring International Raceway, almost New Year's Eve. We call it the New Year's Eve race because it's close enough. A couple days after Christmas, we start that up. So you've been racing at Sebring a long time. You have a lot of good finishes there at Sebring.
Yeah,
So-
we've won a few races with the Marlboro Marathon car with the boys Steve and Ty.
Yep.
They've come a long way. They've been my customers for about 6-7 years. Since Ty was 15 years old, I've been coaching him. He's definitely come a long way, and everybody carries their own on the team. And we've won a few Sebring races. I think we won it overall twice. In class, we've won it a whole bunch of times. And yeah, we're going back with 3 cars. We built a new car for the Hammonds, another E46 328. We're going with the Fing Dogs, the Boxster that we've always supported, and the Marlboro car, which I'll be driving. So I think we're going to have Andy Pilgrim drive one of our cars.
He's not very quick.
Right. So he might
never
hold
heard
his
of
own.
him.
I hope he doesn't embarrass himself. So yeah, Andy Pilgrim is a buddy of mine, and he's coming to drive one of our cars just for fun. He called me up and he says another ChampCar team called him, and he said, "If I'm doing this, I'm only doing this with you, Twatty." And I said, "All right, come over."
There you go. So, all right. So we're doing I think it's an 8+7. I get confused because I'm also working on the 25 season, and I know we're going to do 2 14-hour races there. One in the summer, goes overnight, and then we're doing the New Year's Eve next year is going to be a 14. We talked about doing a 24 because it's so close to Christmas next year. We decided let's just do a 14, and just I don't know if anybody noticed it on the schedule, but I changed it to 14, I believe, last week. So, but yeah, it was. And then the following year, we're doing the 24 at Sebring New Year's. So it's
Oof.
going to be cool. Yeah.
That is going to take a lot of survival, a lot of prep.
I think it'll be good. I mean, I think if you go there with a stiffed out, conied up car, it's not going to do too well. But if you make a car that can absorb the punishment of that track, I think you'll do all
Well, like anything in Sebring, you have to make sure that you're running an endurance pace, you're running an endurance race. If you're hopping curves and running off track just to get that fast lap time, you're going to punish the car in ways that you don't have to
right.
for 8 hours and 7 hours. It's still a 15-hour weekend. You got to make sure the car lasts. So it's definitely not a sprint race. You cannot be hopping all the curves everywhere and expect the car not to for something not to fail. And also your body. We're all going to be there pretty much 2-hour stints if we want to maximize our drive time.
Right.
And you need to make sure that you're there. You're hydrated. Got to make sure that pay attention. There's going to be a lot of different driver skills up and down the field, and you got to make sure that you don't make a mistake or oversell us because you don't want to lose that second on that lap. you might put it into the wall or T-bone somebody,
Right.
or outbrake yourself and end up in the tire wall.
So that's one of the things that we did for, I think it was a December. Yeah, it was a December Sebrings, was that I brought my wife and daughter and along with my son to help us out and stuff. And they kept us hydrated. They kept us fed. And it changed our race. I mean, a bunch of 4, 5, 6 guys there, and we're just so busy working on cars, getting cars ready and resting during the race because, we worked all the time to get the car prepped and ready. But, we had the girls there feeding us, and it was different. We actually took home a trophy. It was that good. So
That's why we have Trish. Trish is there to do all our everything. Basically, Trish does everything.
but it was I think a lot of it too is because we're up here in Virginia where it's humid, but hydration, you just drink when you can. But during a race, you just have to drink a lot of water, or a lot of, hydrate, seriously hydrate. Now, I think that was the big difference, was just hydration. So, secret number 1, hydrate. All right. So, we have people here. I guess Ed came here for the secrets, the man that's come close to winning this race many times. But preparation for Sebring is the number 1 secret. I mean, you can't show up with a half-built car, half the bolts not even tightened. You got to have your car prepared. And you guys have 3, 4 cars you got to prep. Mm-hmm. What is the secret to getting these cars ready for it?
Well, for us, we have a directive that started about 15 years ago with many of our customers. We're a bougie shop. I mean, people come to us because they're not going to be working, their transmission. They're not going to be changing axles in the middle of the race. That's what my guys do. So my guys don't want to do it in the track either. So we make sure at the shop, and this happened probably about 10 years ago when we had repeated small part failures, that parts that were just being timed out. And one of my customers came to me and said, "Listen, David, I'm spending X amount of money to come here and have fun with my friend, my son, my family, whatever. For, a $500 alternator, I'd rather not go home. So go ahead and change it. Change whatever that part is. Change it every time if you have to. Just, I don't want to have those failures, because in the big scheme of things, a small money part makes you go home and not enjoy the entire weekend with your family, your friends, your son, whoever you're driving with."
Right.
So that's something that really woke me up, and that's why we are the kind of shop that we are. We're not the cheapest, I can tell you that for sure, but our stuff regularly does not break.
Right.
We make sure we put axles, hubs, bearings, wheel nuts and studs constantly. We change that religiously, and it is expensive, but not when somebody's spending X amount of dollars to go have fun. It's just part of doing it. So we make sure we put all new parts. We try not to ever put junkyard parts on the car, and go racing. So, I would say I can count with one hand the number of failures we've had in over 10 years of racing in ChampCar.
So you don't have to tell us your intervals, but how do you come up with your timeout schedule?
That would be more of a David Leda question, but to be totally honest, we make sure that we start the year with everything new.
Okay.
We buy new OEM BMW axles, bearings, hubs. We put everything in the car. Normally after Sebring, we change everything, because Sebring just takes a beating. So I think we change control arms every 2 races, bushings like almost every race. It's not a lot of money, and when you do the math of what people are spending in a year of racing with us. So we change that a lot. David would be the one, but I think we put axles every 6 months, I think, or every like 3 or 4 14-hour race. We just toss them out.
Do you blueprint them before you put those parts back in, or is that something you just put them in as OE?
No, those are all OE parts. I mean, you gotta make sure that your supplier. We try not to get Chinese axles, because we've had just one break after another. The BMW axles are quadruple the money, but they don't break.
Right.
So again, Chinese axles, we would have to change them. First of all, we hope they finish the race, and then we change them after every race. The BMW axles can go. We like to go at least 3 or 4 14-hour races, depending where. Sebring is super rough, so we know that a lot of parts have failed before its timeout after Sebring. So we change a lot more. So pretty much the cars that are going to Sebring are getting everything new and are more than likely getting everything new before we go to Road Atlanta or whatever the first race is going to be for us.
Yeah. When you use the OEM parts, it's more expensive, but you know you can run them a little longer, and in the end,
Yes.
it probably ends up being not much of a difference because they last longer, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. The axles for the BMW 328, for example, I forget the exact number, but I would say the Chinese axles are 1/4 the cost.
Right.
But you have to change them 4 times
Right.
earlier. So you don't save $1.
Is there any other track that you treat like Sebring, where when you're done, you go and you change everything? Is there any other track you race on a regular basis?
Sebring has got to be the roughest. NOLA, before their repave, was extremely rough. Everywhere else we race is pretty good.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's pretty smooth. Sebring is absolutely. I mean, Coda was super rough until now that they repaved it.
Oh yeah.
They don't have the washboard braking zones anymore. This last weekend was great. The car was the track was fantastic. Sebring has gotta be the roughest track in the world, I think.
So do you want them to repave it? Do you want them to take or do you love having one track that is that toughest test of car?
You know, Sebring's got his charms.
Yeah.
There's something about jumping around in turn 17 and going as fast as possible, knowing that the car could, you're full throttle coming out of 17, and the car could very well be an entire car length over just jumping.
I remember watching this guy as I went into 17 pull up beside me, and I'm like, "Are you just stupid?"
Yeah, it's fun.
You're bouncing, and you just wait up. Oh, he's doing it too. He's doing it too. So
yeah, I mean, the pictures that you get from 17 in any car.
Yeah.
With most of the time, if the photographer gets it right, you can see all 4 wheels off the ground.
Yeah.
So no, I don't. I think it might be too fast if you repave it.
Yeah.
Because turn 1 right now is stupid fast.
I mean, there's always talk about people saying, "Oh, they should repave it," but I don't think they should, man. It's the track that everybody goes to test for the 24 hours of Le Mans. Because if your car can last 6 hours there, it'll last 24 hours.
Yep.
And it is you're not just fighting yourself, your car build, you're fighting the environment.
Yeah.
And the track is part of that environment.
Yeah, I think that if you repave turn 1 and 17, you kind of lose a little bit of the charm, and the speeds would creep up. I mean, right now in the car you see behind me, our minimum speed on a good lap through turn 1 is 99 to 101 miles an hour. It's insane. And you're bouncing all over the place. If it was super smooth, I don't know. I think it would be more insane. Yeah, it has the charms. I mean, you can hear the when you go over the cracks in the cement at the back straightaway. It's cool.
Yeah,
it's different.
Yeah, I don't want every track to be smooth and everything, but or to be bumpy like Sebring, but to have one test on the schedule like that, I think is just pretty awesome.
I like it. Yeah. Sebring's got a special place. It's historic. We've been going there forever, so leave it alone. Respect the bumps.
Yep. I like that. All right, so we've prepped the car, getting ready for the weekend. You get to the track, getting everybody hydrated. Now you start the race. Ball's out, right?
Well, they've the Showhorns make me start the race, which oh my God, I have to twist my arm. I love starting the races. It's so much fun. That's when everything is fresh, and you're going maybe one ball out. Yeah, you're not. But let me tell you, ChampCar has become extremely competitive I talk to the nano makers all the time online, and we're always, prodding each other because we want to beat them. They want to beat me, and I raced an IMSA with them back in the day.
Right.
So it's cool to see that, and the level of preparation that ChampCar has now is second to none. The cars that are running in the top third of the field are touring cars. They really are. They're touring cars. I mean, you might not be able to swap all the parts, but they are maintained and they come prepared to the shop just like a touring car will. And you're not holding back a lot. Where I am holding back, I'll tell you, is when I start the race in traffic. Make sure you don't do something stupid, dent a fender, cut a tire.
Right.
If somebody, and there's people that go out there like they are gonna win the Indy 500 on the first lap, and I let them all go by because most of them are gonna be on the side of the road sooner than later. It just doesn't make any sense. When people, especially cars that don't have ABS, you see the guys that are not experienced and they're going to usually turn 10 or turn 7 at Sebring, they lock up the tires and they take somebody's door out.
All right.
And now you have, 8 hours to repair your car instead of 8 hours of racing your car.
Yeah.
And what's great about Sebring is there is a lot of runoff until there isn't, but runoff
Right.
that you can use. And I think a lot of guys tend to, they may, let's just say, overdrive it or put themselves into a position they shouldn't really be in at that moment in time. And then they don't decide to let off. You can let off and kind of take that turn 7 straight away, and slow down and get back on track. You'll lose your position, but you can get out there. But there's other places too that you can, the runway, the S's. There are a lot of places out there you can move off to keep from hitting somebody. And yeah, it's a great little track, but it can hurt. I spun one time. I was so proud of. I just spent the last hour passing a group of cars because it was a group that was really hard to pass. Got around them, and I'm going through the I think it's 5-6 complex there, or is it 4-5? 5-6, 5-6. Right before the bridge.
Yes, 4-5-6. Oh, 4-5.
And
the carousel.
I got around there, and I got excited that I just passed them all, and I screwed the corner up, and I spun the car top center track as they all went right around me. Nobody hit me, but I saw a lot of eyeballs. But yeah, it's one of those tracks that it can be a little forgiving, but it can hurt if you don't do it right.
Yeah, my directive to my drivers are for the first, I would say 85 to 90% of the races, you're just driving your laps.
Yeah.
Drive your laps, do a pace that you're comfortable, repeat it without hurting the car, without hurting yourself. Let it all sort itself out. If you get into a pissing match with somebody, you're gonna hurt something.
Now,
having said that,
I did that one time in the Opel GT, and everybody got pissed off at me. But we were flat out, buddy. Remember that race with that car? You remember that number race?
Yeah, I think I only saw it once.
About every 4 laps.
Yeah.
Never saw the back of it. Only saw the front of it as he was driving past it. And that's a good point, David. If you get to 85 or 90% of an endurance race at Sebring and you've got all the fenders in the right spot, all the wheels pointing in the right direction, you're going to be in a better shape than probably 80 or 90% of the field at that point in time.
Oh, wait. We have a guy that's online right now where not one fender on that car is straight. Ed, and he will be up towards the top. So,
all right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ed still has the TLM sticker in the back. I gave it to him like 10 years ago.
And
he's still there.
He masks that thing off when he touches up the silver on that.
Ed, I'm gonna give you a new sticker. That was getting a little rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He still has it.
But my point is, if you keep the car clean for the first 80% of the race, you're going to be in better shape than a whole lot of cars because not all those cars are going to do that, and you're going to be really good to go in the last 20% of the race.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you don't scrape any of the fenders off. Don't get any penalties.
Yep.
You'll be fine.
Now, John Whitnauer, he asked, do you recommend practicing Sebring on a simulator?
I'm old school. I cannot do sims. I don't have the feel when I tried it. The few times that I've tried it, I keep outbreaking myself into the wall. I don't have that fear factor. So to me, when I've tried the sim, I tried the sim to win the. I mean, to practice the Miami Grand Prix before the Carrera Cup race this year. And all I was doing was looking at markers and then hitting the brakes. And that's not how you drive. That's not how I drive. So to me, the sim does not help me at all. I much rather have a test day. I need a 20-minute session and I'm good.
I
I
think
learned.
it's only good for getting at Sebring because of the bumps. I don't think you can ever really feel that. Even in the force feedback stuff, I think you'd have to have one of those NASA sims.
Yeah, my biggest problem is that there's no fear.
Yeah.
You don't have that chicken muscle activation when you're in the sim. And that makes a big difference when your car's bouncing around. So I don't do sims. I can't do sims. It just doesn't work for me.
So one of the things that I noticed different about Sebring, because I hadn't raced there since 2017, they changed turn 17. It's like they moved the wall out. So when I remember going, because when I did the test day, going into that, the entry into 17, it's like it closed down. And it's like, holy crap, I have to fit through this. Of course, once you get in it, it opens up, but you don't realize that until you get in there. But that wall moving out there has really changed the entrance to that, or the escape route in that corner. So if you do screw up a bit, you have really nowhere to go.
Was that the first time you drove Sebring in 2017?
Yeah, that was the first time. I'd driven it in the past, but I don't ever remember it being that tight going through there. Like the wall.
The first time I ever drove it was 1994. The entire back straightaway where we put our trailers was racetrack.
Oh, wow.
None of that was paddock. So you came out of 16 wide open, and it was, like 20 car lengths wide all the way to 17. It was humongous. I got lost quite a few times. I come out there and I'm like, where am I?
Oh, yeah. And then you go into 17 and it scrunches down.
Yep. So that none of that was there. So yeah, it's now it's, believe it or not, it feels easier. Because before I didn't know where. You basically went around the wall and floored it, and it took me a while to realize that in my little rabbit. Eventually, you actually went around 16 flat out, because there was no. I mean, there was Bishop's Bend, but it was Bishop's and straight to 16. Right. So you just went. It was basically flat out the whole time.
They didn't have the curbing out there.
None of that curving. No, it was just one big turn. Yeah, it's changed quite a few times over the years. Sebring is just historic and fun.
So going in, so you go down the front straightaway, you go into one, which is a left-hander. Mm-hmm. As you come down the front straightaway, you kind of position your car over to the right, if you have the room to do that, to prepare for the left-hander. You've got this left-hander that is kind of blind as you go into it. You've also got to watch the people coming out of pit lane. Mm-hmm. Of course, when they're coming out, they always look really close, but they're not. They're pretty far out there.
And people coming out of pit lane are really not an issue. You just don't let your eyes wander, because you end up going over there. I once I get to around the under the bridge, start braking, somewhere at the end of the pit lane wall, turn and just look for that zero marker, and you got to go right under it. Always try to hit the mirror on the wall, that I haven't done yet, thank God, and floor it on the way out and bounce all the way to the grass.
You remember that cone was stuck up in the apex? Cone was stuck up in the fence.
That was the apex for many, many, many years. Yep.
Now they actually have a sign up there now, don't they, or something?
Now they have the zero. It's a zero.
Oh, a zero. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I like the cone up there. You could see it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how that sign.
The zero, you have to go underneath. You just go underneath the zero. It looks like a brake marker, but it's a zero. And that's the sign. That's it. Get under it and floor it out. And that's what it's actually perfect spot, because you get to it and you drift out from the zero out to the grass.
Now there is grass out there and
Yep.
dirt,
Yep.
and sometimes a hole. As you,
And if you get on that grass, put the steering wheel straight, and ride it out. Do not try to save it, because you are going to meet the inside wall and you're not going to like it.
yeah, it's because they don't move that much if they do at all.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. Quite a few cars have been destroyed there over the years. I've witnessed it myself. If you go to that grass on the outside of one, ride it out. I don't care how rough it is. Trust me, the damage would be a lot less than hitting the wall sideways.
Now you get through turn one, a lot of passing goes on between 1 and 3. Remember, I don't have a map up. I'm going by my memory, but between
Sure.
1 and 3 there, a lot of passing goes on. So you always have to look at your look at your mirror, look at what's
Yeah,
coming.
if you have a good run coming out of turn one, you can pop to the inside of two and outbrake somebody. So whoever is on the outside in a braking zone, always glance at your mirror, because that's a perfect opportunity for somebody to brain fart and take your door out. So let them go if they have to. You'll get them later. Quick shift down to third gear. Don't hit the curving there, is really high. And if you hit the curving, it's going to upset the car. So try to just thread the needle through and straight to the carousel. A lot of people go really wide into an arc into the carousel, but you're just adding, feet to your travel. You don't have to do that. If you actually brake straight into the carousel, data would show it is quite a few tenths quicker.
You call the carousel, is that the 5 turn?
Five, right before the bridge.
And it's funny, up in the tower, and my racing experience the last 5 years has been from the tower. So
Right.
in the tower, you can always see when somebody gets a bit wide there, because there's huge puff of
Yes.
Dust.
red dust.
Yeah.
It's not sand, it's just dust.
Yeah.
And and especially at nighttime, you see it in the lights of the
Yep.
car.
And you have to thread the needle on the way out. But if you are patient, and that's a corner that most people, I think that's what happened to you. You floored it there and spun it. Most people get too antsy, and you really have to wait, and get on the gas once on the way out. You ride just two wheels on the curving on the outside. You will get a little bit of dust there because the curving ends and the dust begins. But if you get it right, in order to get it right, you have to have patience on the way in. If you hurry it up, you're either going to understeer off or turn the car sideways.
I made the last pass on the car through 4 going into 5, and I just had way too much speed going into the corner. And with the mid-engine car, it was the yellow MR2.
Okay.
I got the wheels off. Actually, I think the front or the right side wheels off into the dirt, and the LSD just didn't do much anything except spin me around in a circle. So, but yeah, and we see that happen even with other cars today. They, like you said, they try to push it as hard as they can there instead of just waiting. And but that does, the exit from 5 can determine your speed through 6 going into 7.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
There's that fine line there. So you exit underneath the bridge, you come out, and it's a turn, but it's not.
No, turn 6, you treat it as a straightaway.
Yeah.
And then
What's the trick for 7? Because 7 is the one that seems baffling to me.
go really fast.
Well, seven, depending on the car, but in our ChampCar, basically once we get into that there's a black patch that it just coincides with, I think, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 cones. Once you get into the 6, you can just hammer on the brakes. And again, that's a turn that everybody bonsais in, and then they're slow out.
Right.
You have to be controlled by the time you get to somewhere around the 1 to turn in and get on the power before the rumble strips on the way out, and you make that S on the way out straight. And if you get it right, you pick up 2-3 tenths on your fastest lap just by being smooth and coming a little bit more under control. A lot of people just stand on it, on the brakes. The car is fully loaded on the front wheels. They go to turn and they just keep, scraping their front wheels. downshift. By
You-
that time, somebody behind you just passed you.
You've clearly seen me drive.
And once you get out of 7 and going into Fangio, whoever he is,
Yeah,
no,
that guy.
yeah, that guy. So once you get through 7, like you said, straight line it through there, because once you look at it, and you can see it from the hotel, the 7 hotel.
Yes.
You see that line if you're on that side of the hotel, and you can see how people take it. It's really cool because when you're down there, it looks like, oh, I have to turn the wheel, and no, it's a straight line through there.
Yeah, you go straight. You very, very, very little input from the wheel, and the same thing through the Fangio turns, getting to club course 1 or turn 10. The one thing to be very careful there, and I've seen it in multi-class racing over the years all the time. There is a faster car that wants to go on the outside of the first S and clips the slower car coming back in. There has to be, and it's either the car that's on the inside moving up or the other car moving down, but they meet, and it's not a good result. And people need to be aware of that and give each other space. You can ruin your race.
Through 9,
really
right?
quick.
Through 9?
That will be 8, 9 before 10.
Right.
Both of those turns, I've seen people clip each other, just because they come across somebody else's nose that they're trying to pass, and they cut back in too quick. And there has to be a little give and take. When I have a fast car that's coming, I usually breathe there just to make sure he clears me. I don't want none of his business.
Right. And then you go into 10, which this whole 10, 11, 12, 13 complex for me is other than 17, it's one of my favorite part of the track.
Yeah, you know what? 10 is you have to sacrifice the exit. You got to keep the car to the inside on the apex to get a good run out of 11. Because if you track out on 10, then you make 11 an adventure. And usually people spin the car on 11. Yeah. A lot of people spin the car there just because their car is fully loaded. So if you give up the exit of turn 10, keep it on the inside, you're able to floor it all the way around 11 and 12 without being dramatic. So the exit of 10 is key. Make sure you don't track all of the way out. And then diagonally to 13, tower turn. That's actually one of my favorite turns. I don't think I've ever in 30 years gotten that turn right.
It's banked. It is banked big time. I didn't realize it was until we set up Flagtronics.
Every single time I get out of that turn, I'm like, man, I could have done that better. I'm never satisfied with that turn. That's my nemesis.
It's 13 was so much fun in my MR2. You just go out. If I don't see a cloud of dust behind me, I haven't done it right.
Yeah, it's a tricky turn. It really is. It always feels like you could have gone faster, and then when you try to go faster, I'm like, you're out of the road. I'm like, maybe that was too fast. Like that happy middle. I haven't found it yet, but I want to keep trying.
And then okay, you get through 13, which is basically kind of flat out. I mean,
from 13 all the way to the braking zone, you go through Bishops, you better be flat out. I think in all the Chump cars, it should be easy flat out. Make sure the car is not fully loaded, left to right. Make sure that when you come in, you are set and the car is, settled on the outside wheels and just ride around all the way. And our cars, with basically stock suspension, it rolls a lot. But once it takes a set, it stays there. And you can comfortably go flat out through Bishops. I don't think there's any Chump car that cannot do it.
I was always, for me, my nemesis was 14 with Bishops. I just could not get that right with my car. Any of cars I've driven there, I don't know what it is. I look at this map and it doesn't really look that much of a turn, but when I'm taking it, to me, it looks like a turn, and I'm just never set up for that right. And especially
feeling the G-forces.
What was that?
Your body is feeling the G-forces, so your brain is telling you, I'm at the limit, and you maybe not. Like the tires and the car can do more, but your body's like, okay, I'm in, I'm here.
But yeah, so 14 through Bishops, you got to watch it because a lot of people are coming. Some people may be coming in faster, so you got to watch for the passing through there, and then setting up through the little bend there to go into 15, and then that's fun. I always found 15 and 16, especially at night. I just always had fun going through there at nighttime.
That is the one place in which I I don't listen to my own advice, and I do hit the rumble strips to 14 and 15 because you kind of have to get it right. If you move out of the curbing at 15, the car just wants to understeer off, and it feels like you're doing more damage to the tires, for 8 hours of running. So that is the one place where I do hit the curbing, especially on the way in, the first S.
Yeah. And then you're basically trying to set up for 16, which can be really, really fast. But that section is so important because if you don't get that right and you come out slow, that really affects your top speed going down into prepping for 17.
And anybody that's listening, for the love of God, you do not have to put 6 wheels off the pavement going into 16.
No.
Just straddle it. 2 will do. You're just making the track longer for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, sometimes you see people out there and they look like they're trying to like start it like Epcot.
Yes, they
before they make the turn.
And the thing you're inviting people like me. I'm like, okay, I'm just going in, and that is a perfect spot to basically, pass block you. You're in. You can't turn now. I'm inside, and it slows both of you down.
Right.
Or they hit you, or you hit them. Does that happen?
Yeah. Well, you have to be careful. I try not to, but that's the one place you're inviting people to do stupid stuff because the car looks like you're leaving the track.
Yeah.
And I see that in every class. Doesn't matter what kind of car I'm driving. Somebody always puts all the wheels plus.
I saw this huge hole that was way bigger than the E30 I had. I made the entrance, and right at the apex, I thought, "Oh shit, I don't have this. This is not going to end well," and it didn't. So, but yeah, that 16.
So now you're going down the back straightaway as fast as you can pedal the cars, which in our car I think is like 125, 130 maybe. That's about it.
MR2 is like 150, 160. The Opal was about
whatever.
So that back straight. Now, I've been with ChampCar to every single race that we've run at Sebring, with the exception of, I have been to every one of them. The biggest accidents we've ever had have been on that back straightaway, and it's the first one. Do you remember that one when we ran on the full course? The first year we ran on the full course with the bug.
Yes,
bug was going a bit slower, and somebody pulled out, and fast car came up, basically cut that car in half.
Yes, I remember that.
I remember coming out of 16 and just parts all over Ullman Straight.
Yep.
Now, that is something that's always concerned me going back there. It's like looking for those slower cars. Now, if you do have a slower car, you need to stay right. Is that the normal thing to do?
Anybody that you're passing, what I want to see when I'm passing somebody is stay in your line. I will worry about where I'm going. The most disconcerting thing for a passing car is if you expect the car to be on the left and you're coming and you're moving to the right, that car then moves to the right to do you a favor, and that's when the accident happens. So all slower cars, stay in your lane. Let the guy behind you worry where he's going to pass you. Don't help. The help is actually more scary than anything you could possibly do. The change of direction where you're not expecting it, that's when the oops happens.
Right. And that's what we don't want is oops.
Yeah. And 16, when you come out, a lot of people, take 16 way too fast. They run into the grass and they hook it to the inside. That has been a very common accident lately. So same thing, just you're not going to gain much if you just, or lose much. If you just lift a little, don't get on the grass, don't get on the dirt. And if you do, dead straight until you're under control and get back on the road.
And when they hook it, they usually end up going to the inside wall.
Yeah, that wall doesn't move.
They don't move. No. And they're because they have big concrete barriers, and it's not just one. They're usually stacked 2 or 3 deep.
Yeah, that's the pit lane for the WEC car. So that's a hard wall.
Now, going down that straightaway, watch people in front of you. You're going into 17. The brake markers are out there. Sometimes in a night race, those brake markers might disappear.
Yep, for sure.
You need to get an idea of what's around you, so you can hit. If those brake markers do go away, you know where to stop or to hit those brakes.
Well, in our car, in our Champ car, and I think most of the guys that are going fast, I kind of disregard in the Cup car behind you. I use the brake markers, kind of, because the brakes on those and that thing is unbelievable. But in the Champ car, I use the corner worker station. It's really my reference. I'm aiming for that guy, and diagonally in, and I have 3 reference points. Number 1 is the corner station. Number 2, as soon as you pass through the corner station, brake straight, and there's a black line that comes around. As soon as I straddle the black line, I look to the inside under the bridge. A lot of people look for some dot on the bridge. I've never seen the dot. There are 2 black lines that intersect on the inside. And if you hit right the outside, for me, is perfect, because right inside of that little black X, there's a big bump, and the car will move a whole car lane over. So I try to apex on the outside of the black line. And I tell all the people that I coach, from there on, I don't care where you put the car, as long as your foot is going down on the gas pedal. I don't care where the car is going. You need forward motion. You don't have to hit another apex on the other side of the bridge. Just track out to the wall with as much throttle as you can possibly have. So yeah, I don't do the double apex. I just hit basically underneath the bridge, the little black lines right outside of it, and floor it and let the car go wherever it wants to go. Light on the wheel. Don't hold the wheel for death. Just lightly let the car go, and don't hit the wall on the outside.
Yeah, because we've seen that too.
Yes,
Now,
we have.
one of the things we saw with with global warming, which means that rain happens.
Yep.
We've had some pretty big incidences, and one of them was your car
Yeah.
in the
The
rain
last-
on the front straight when they painted it, and I think they put some. They may have. Sorry, I have to be careful what I say. We suspected there may have been some drag racing stuff put onto the track at one point, and
Yes, that's what it was. It wasn't paint. It was the prep for drag racers.
yeah, we mentioned that, and we got yelled at by the track. No, we never put that down.
Oh yes. So my car, I'm pretty sure that was an 8-hour race. So for 7 hours and 55 minutes, because he actually crashed with on the last lap, actually.
Slap, yeah.
Last lap. So 7 hours and 58 minutes, we were straddling the little drag racing staging area, and it was Steve, the owner of the car, just happened to clip one and boom into the wall. Last lap of the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened.
That allowed Salins to win another race.
Oh, really?
No, I don't know.
Oh,
I think they won that one under yellow.
yeah.
I have a picture of it as they come across.
That was a tough one.
Yeah. I was doing searching for you, for some pictures for you, your Superman pose or your Power Ranger pose. And I saw the picture that I took with the car facing me as a car was going by it. And then the next the Salins taking the checker. And there you guys were back with the tow truck. Yeah, but it's not just that. It's you do have the paint where they paint down on the start finish line, and that can get kind of slippery, especially.
Make sure the wheel's straight when you go by it, because it will light up tires.
Yeah. Yep. Now, what do you think? I think we're done with that now because we have no more turns.
Well, no more turns, and we're coming up on the clock. And I know there's some other things you wanted to talk about.
So, David, not only are you running ChampCar, but you run WRL, but you've also got your own racing series down there in South Florida.
I do, the FARA Racing Series.
Yeah. And what's that stand for?
Formula Automobile Racing Association.
And what do you guys race? Little cars?
Yeah, little cars. So we have Formula. We have the F4s, Ligiers, that we run in the Formula FARA, and that is its own championship. Then we run the multi-class, kind of like ChampCar, which is all kinds of cars, from Spec Miatas all the way to Porsche GT3 Cup cars and prototypes.
Wait. I thought it was GT4 prototypes all the way up to Miatas.
Well, yeah, okay, GT3 all the way up, to be honest. So yeah, we have on the sharp end of the field, we have the Honda Wars, the Miatas, the E36s, E46s of all kinds of classes, all kinds of years. So those are the GT4 and GT3. That's the name that we have. Then GT2 and GT1 are the GT4 cars and the GT3 class cars. And we also have the FP1 through FP3, which is FARA prototypes. So we have LMP3s, Pragas, Radicals, Wolves, all those kinds of cars. And we all race together. We had 44 GT class cars at the last event. Everybody runs together. It's been like that for 18 years. It is a lot of fun. We make sure that the drivers feel like they are superstars. And I'll tell you a story. My first podium ever at Moroso, I finished third in a club race, and it was the first time I ever was anywhere near the top three, and I was so excited. I finished the race fully suited in my car. I drove to where the victory lane is, little podium, and I'm like, okay, where's the celebration? And they're all looking at me like I have three eyes. I go, but I finished third. So I went to park my car, completely dejected. I asked people, where do we go to the podium? I wanted to be, I wanted to step on the podium. I wanted the girls. I wanted the champagne. Nothing. They sent me to this guy in a little 10 by 10 white tent. And he looks at me and he goes, what's your name? And I said, David Twatty. He goes, oh, here you go. Congratulations. And he handed me a box. The trophy wasn't even put together. He gave me a box. And I look at this going, this sucks. Like all this, I'm a race car driver. I felt like, a race car driver. No, I got a box. And I went back to my pit and I said, this sucks. So when we had the opportunity to buy FARA 3 years ago, that was my main directive. And it was the objective of the previous owner. So we come off the track straight to the podium, confetti, fireworks, music, food, huge banners, giveaways. We have everything you can possibly. I want everybody that comes to a FARA race to feel like they just won the Indy 500, and we do that. And it's been amazing. It really has. So we created a whole bunch of new programs when we bought it. So now we have the HPDE Beginner, Intermediate, and Advanced. We have something new called the Super Lap Series, which is our version of time trials. So people can now go and basically from not knowing what a steering wheel does all the way to, semi-pro road racing. And the reason why we call it semi-pro is we do have the Pro Spec Miata, which gives out $5,000 of prize money we've given over $50,000 this weekend in prize money to the Spec Miata guys. It has been an amazing program. They run by themselves.
They're only going to spend it on Miata parts.
Oh, they do, but they keep coming back, and we're doing something that no other group is doing. The Spec Miatas are the biggest, largest race car class in the country, and everybody else treats them like a redheaded stepchild. So we got sponsors that came on board. The second we announced it, Mission Foods came on board, Headquarter Mazda came on board, Rook's Helmets came on board with money and prices. Something people don't see every day. And we have it out there. We have a 3-year commitment that we're going to extend again and again and again.
So David, let's go to ChampCar for a second. So a long time ago, I remember you coming up to me and you mentioning the fact that, like you said, you got third place, you didn't get anything. I mean, we have a lot of folks on here. I see a lot of third place losers on this list. And I mean that in a loving way, losers. But I see that. And I have a lot of third place trophies back here.
Yeah.
But those are overall. And ChampCar has always been about the overall. It wasn't until I think 2012, 2013, where we started doing the class winners. Well, I want to make an announcement. As of 2025, we are going to be giving away in all classes, with the exception of EC, all classes will get first, second, and third place trophies. So
Big move. Love it. Fantastic. As it should be.
and we're working on getting Jimmy with a sparkler. But first, second, and third place for Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, Class F. EC will get one trophy. But because we want those guys making their cars legal to race in class or build a legal class. So the focus is on the legal class cars. But yeah, first, second, third, plus the top 3 overall. So I'll be releasing the BCCR here. I think probably Monday I'll put that up, and because I'm going off the PRI, but I'll put that up on Monday, and that's all listed out in there, how we're doing it. So it'll be pretty awesome.
Bill, I'm very happy that I could be a positive influence to you.
Yeah, it wasn't me that made that up. I convinced our boss along with Chelsea. We talked to Chiswick and we convinced him, and he sees the plus to it. Of course, there's people out there that think everybody gets a trophy, but I think with the level of the level of competition out there now, finishing third place is an accomplishment in a lot of these races.
ChampCar is super competitive. The C class most of the time is the biggest class, and finishing third in the C class is no small feat. I mean, 8 hours of racing, keeping the car together, all your teammates, your crew, and everybody, motivated and doing the right thing. Finishing third in a ChampCar race, it's good accomplishment. I mean, I remember when we first started, and it was more of a joke, but that joke became serious very early on. And I've been racing with ChampCar since 2010, I think, or 11. And every time we go now, it's serious competition. It's fun. It's friendly, like we always do. And I do that doesn't matter what kind of car I drive. I do my What's Up People videos everywhere I go. Doesn't matter what I'm driving. But ChampCar it's competition. I'm looking forward to seeing the nano makers and try to kick their ass.
Yeah, there's a line. I think I saw, who was it here? Just saw him just comment a bit earlier about how they just go balls out from the start flag.
Yeah.
Where is
he? Is Rockwell coming?
Yeah, I think it is Rockwell, but I don't know if he's coming. But it was one of the Rockwell drivers. I saw it earlier. But
he was just a WRL. I mean, that is a beautiful thing, and that's why I commend you in what you do. We patronize everybody. We race with ChampCar, with WRL, with IGT, with Trans Am, with SVRA, with FADA, and I love the fact that I can be here on ChampCar Live talking about FADA because we're all friends, and 90% of the people I see on one sanctioning body, I'm going to see on another one. Yeah. And if we all help each other out, then we bring the sport to new heights, all of us together. Fighting between series it's useless.
It was Doug Oakley, but he retracted his comment, so maybe he never said that. But yeah, you're right, and that's the thing. We're all competitors business-wise, but if these guys can get out there and race, the more they race, the better it makes all the series because seat time is it, man.
Yeah.
And we get complaints. Why aren't you doing more races in Texas? Why aren't you doing more races in Florida? There's just not enough weekends. We have to do it all over the country. And
you have to support everybody that's around you because that's how the sport grows. Right. And it grows for everybody. And there's a little piece that everybody can take. A lot of people call us for arrive and drives. Mm-hmm. Lately, we've been doing a lot of customer programs, which means the owners of the cars, we run for them. So I haven't run the rental car in quite a few years, actually. I still have it and I do other stuff with it. But when people call me, I tell them, I go, look, this is what I offer and this is my price. And if they tell me, well, I'm looking to do a little less, I go, no problem. And I have like 4 people that I call them that I refer to down the line in ChampCar, and I'm hoping, and I see those guys that have gone someplace else. Because eventually, and all of those guys actually have referred me business when somebody wants to drive a GT4 or a GT3. So it works both ways. If you think it's all you're going to lose.
Yeah.
You're going to lose. You have to help everybody. It all comes back tenfold.
And people move around. I mean, I'm waiting for SCCA to come back around.
I've been talking to Chelsea, and I told Chiswick also. I've told you for years, we have to do a FARA ChampCar weekend. I don't know how, but we have to figure it out.
That would be fun. It's the problem is our races are so long. You know,
right? We have to figure something out. How about, I'll say it right here, right now. How about a ChampCar sprint weekend during one of our weekends?
See, I would love to do
sprint. Let's make it happen.
I love it. It's just, you know, I have to get that by the boss. I will
tell the bosses that I say, let's put a ChampCar sprint weekend. I'll put it together.
You know why I like the sprint races?
Why?
I have a ton of tires downstairs. I've got a ton of brakes that were, that last me 8 hours. The pads are only going to last, 3 or 4 hours maybe, or 2 hours. I get to use those parts up. And maybe I get to drive the car the whole stint time, or maybe I have 2 drivers. It's just a lot cheaper for me to do that weekend. So
we can do like 4 30-minute sprints with ChampCar only classes. I'll put it together. Who do I have to talk to? Chiswick?
Yeah, Chiswick.
There you go. Mike, I'll be calling you.
Mike.Chiswick@champcar.org.
I got his number.
He's somewhere in the Atlantic right now. We don't know where, but he's not in.
That's good.
So, but yeah, 1 hour, 1 driver. That's the way we did it at Charlotte. Remember we did those sprints?
Yes.
Charlotte race. It was 1 hour, 1 driver.
And never did it again.
No, well, they did it. I think they did it at New Jersey. But I loved it. It was great. Troy and I had such a blast because we could focus on us instead of the customers. And
right. That could be a great thing to come to Homestead. That way you can give it a little bit of a test to see if people want to come and do a ChampCar race at Homestead. Invite the ChampCar teams and do sprint races with FARA.
That's it, because that's something like we don't have to have the whole crew come down. We could just have a few of us come down to officiate, and
there you go.
You can use us as your back office.
Yep. Of course, I've got some board of directors listening now, and they're like, "Bill,
shut up, Bill. Shut up."
All right, David. We're gonna see you in a couple weeks. Merry Christmas to you guys, and Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you very much. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody. I cannot wait to the ChampCar 8 and 7 this coming up in 2 weeks?
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's too soon. I'm off to PRI in the morning with Ray Frank. Chelsea will be there as well for a day. And anybody else going to PRI, we'll see you guys there. We'll be walking around. I think Thursday we're in a bunch of meetings with other sanctioning bodies. But the rest of the time we'll be walking around the areas. If you need me, find me, go over to Flagtronics. They have their booth there. They'll be able to find me, or they'll be able to contact me, and we'll meet up or whatever.
All right.
Thank you for joining us, David, and thank you for giving us some insight onto Sebring International Raceway and FARA. Let's see what we can do in the future.
Nice.
I love it. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Bill. See you in a few weeks.
Thanks a lot, David.
Bye-bye.
That's it, Brian.
Is that it?
I think we're done because it's 10:09. I think Ray Frank might be sitting outside waiting for me to open the door.
All right. Well, let's
know.
get right to it. That's going to do it for another All right, good enough. That's going to do it for another episode of Inside ChampCar. Like what you hear, subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any episodes. It'd be great if you share it on your social media channels. Comment on the ChampCar Facebook page, especially if it's a good one. If not, put it on the FARA page. I mean, on Bill's page. We have a new episode every week. I'm Brian Bielanski. He's Bill Strong. David Twatty's with us. You're listening to Inside ChampCar on the Racing Wire Podcast Network and on ChampCar Live. Have a great week, everybody.